This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Trading at Schwab is now powered by Ameritrade, giving you even more specialized support than ever before. Like access to the trade desk, our team of passionate traders ready to tackle anything from the most complex trading questions to a simple strategy gut check. Need assistance? No problem. Get 24/7 professional answers and live help, and access support by phone, email, and in-platform chat. That's how Schwab is here for you, to help you trade brilliantly. Learn more at schwab.com/trading.
Hi, this is Dr. Willie Jolly, and I want to welcome you to the new and improved Willie Jolly Wealthy Ways podcast. After many years of interviewing the best and brightest thought leaders around the world on my SiriusXM show, I am excited to now have those interviews available to people around the globe on this podcast. So many people would write us and say, I love what I've been hearing about your interviews with these great people. Where can I access them? I live in this country or that country, or I don't have access to that technology. How can I get the information? Well, I'm so excited now that we are able to offer the information and the interviews free on this podcast. So we want you to sit back and enjoy this message and let me know how you like them. And then do me a favor. If you like them, send a review, write a review and post it. And if you like it, hit like on here and share it and tell everybody you know about it, and then subscribe to this podcast so you'll get the alerts when we post a new interview episode. Thank you for listening and enjoy the Willie Jolly Wealthy Ways podcast.
Named one of the outstanding 5 speakers in the world.
Inducted into the Speaker Hall of Fame.
Award-winning singer.
Best-selling author.
And now, here's Willie Jolly.
Hey, everybody, this is Dr. Willie Jolly, and I want to welcome you to the Willie Jolly Wealthy Ways show. Hey, have you ever heard of people who might get a diagnosis, a cancer diagnosis, or some sort of illness diagnosis, and they're gone within days or weeks or months? Well, sometimes you get a miraculous story about someone who was given a diagnosis, a prognosis of 2 years of pancreatic cancer. And 10 years, going up on 10 years later, they are playing golf, playing games with their family, swimming, writing popular books, and even planning for a production, a new play to be released at the end of the year. That's a mindset that I want you to hear about, and how you can grow and go through tough times and on the other side win. You're going to want to hear this interview. Well, I have only just a minute, only 60 seconds in it. It's forced upon me. I can't refuse it. I did not seek it. I did not choose it, but it's up to me to use it. I must suffer if I lose it, give account if I abuse it. Just a tiny little minute, but our eternities are wrapped up in it. So I'm grateful for this minute, this moment, this opportunity to be with each and every one of you all around the globe, whether you're listening on SiriusXM channel 141 or whether you're listening on the podcast on all podcast platforms. I am grateful that you took time out of your schedule. And I'm grateful for you, because you have made this the #1 self-help show in America. You have made this one of the top podcasts in the world. You. And I'm grateful for you. Thank you for what you do to tell your friends, your family members, your coworkers. Next, I want to thank God. I take a moment to thank God every show for life and strength and health. I'm grateful for all the things that have been blessed upon me and all the blessings that come my way. But I'm most thankful for life and strength and health, for friends and family. So I give God glory, and I say it to you every week. God's gift to you is life. Your gift to God is what you do with your life. So do something awesome with it. And finally, I want to thank our sponsor, Truist Bank. Oh, I love Truist Bank because they have committed themselves to me in this show. They said, we love the kind of content you bring, positive, uplifting, encouraging content in the midst of tough times. Because they say this is the kind of content that they want people to hear about uplifting, impossible, overcoming mindset situations where they say this is impossible. Or as I heard a quote the other day, a great quote, the difficult we do immediately. The impossible takes a little more time. Well, we're trying to help people do the difficult and the impossible and make it happen. Well, my guest today is a gentleman who I'm going to give you the inside track. I've known him just about all my life. Okay, just about all my life. I met him when I was in elementary school. In elementary school, he was a crossing guard. He was 4 or 5 years older than I was. And one day I was walking home from school. I had stayed at school late to help the teacher with some things in the classroom. And I was walking home. I was late because no one else was there. None of the other students, they'd all gone. And the crossing guards were ending their shift. And these bad dudes, these are bad boys, saw this guy by himself. And one of them was sent by the other to go up there and hit him. And he came up and just hit me for no reason. I didn't know the guy. And I was knocked to the ground, knocked me down. This crossing guard saw it, and he came to my rescue. And he walked me home that day. And he told me his name was Butch. Okay, his name was Butch. And we became friends. And I would see him as I would go to school every day. And he would, take time to talk to me. And then he went on to junior high school. By the time I got to junior high school, he had gone on to high school. But he lived not far away from me. And so I would see him occasionally and we would chat. Well, he went on to college at Bowdoin College, and he got his degree at Bowdoin College in arts. He then went on to Cambridge College for his master's degree in education and teaching. Then he went on to the International Graduate Center to get his doctorate. He went back to the high school that I graduated from and taught there for 35 years and was well beloved by all the students. And then he retired. And somewhere after retirement, he can tell you more. He had a diagnosis. He felt odd, I guess. He went to the doctor. Something was not right. And he got a devastating diagnosis, pancreatic cancer. He was given 2 years to live. Well, that was almost 10 years ago. And now today he is writing popular books, productions. He's golfing, swimming, and enjoying life. So when I called him, because one of his books is so intriguing about being a guest, I said, "How are you doing?" He said, "Man, I'm playing golf. I'm swimming. I'm doing this. I'm doing that." He went through all this litany of things that he's doing. And he said, "Oh, by the way, I'm fighting cancer." That was the last thing he said as a kind of, "Oh, yeah, right." And that's that he needs to tell you how he had that attitude. So his name is Dr. Maurice Butler. He's a author of many books. We're going to talk about the books, but we also want to talk about how to not just survive cancer, but thrive in the face of it. Maurice, come online now and just join us, my friend. And thank you for being my guest, my brother.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me on your program. I've been following your career, and you've always been a favorite of mine. So thank you very much.
Well, I'm honored to have you. And that story was true. You came and rescued me from the bullies.
Now it's interesting. Now crossing guards are adults. Back in those days, I was in elementary school.
That's right. Crossing guards were kids.
Yeah. And
they were students.
Yeah, and you know how things have changed. You know, kids, that's part of our development is we were given those kind of responsibilities when we were very, very young. And I think that's why we've become leaders as we got older.
I followed your path after that and became a crossing guard when I was in the 5th and 6th grade. By that time, you had gone on to, but I remember, and we had a crossing guard parade every year. There was a parade for the
Patrol parade.
That's right. That's right. Down on Constitution Avenue in Washington, D.C. You put on your crossing guard gear, and you had a little strap, and okay. Let's talk about your life. So you went on to, I gave him a thumbnail. You grew up in D.C. Right. And you went to Bowdoin College. You went to get your master's, went on to get your doctorate. You taught school for 35 years. Tell me more. If there's some other things about that experience that you could share. But then I want to get to the meat of the potato, which is how you were you retired when you got the diagnosis?
Yeah, it was interesting. I had a kidney stone. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you've ever had a kidney stone before, but that had to have been the worst experience in my life. So I would, tell people drink as much water as you can because that knocked me to the ground. And so I was trying to tough it out. And then I asked my wife to, take me to the hospital, and she took me. And, they did an MRI, and, I remember, I'll never forget, the doctor came in the room and he pulled up a chair. And he said to me, and his voice got real soft, and he says, yes, you have a kidney stone. He said, but you got something else too. And then when he said that, I knew that. And then he said, well, I had cancer, and that they had to do another MRI. So they found out that I had pancreatic cancer. And I know I had a tumor. Fortunately, the tumor was growing on top of the pancreas as opposed to inside the pancreas. But the only problem is I had to have an operation. They had to cut the tumor out because it had spread to my intestines and my spleen. But the tumor had grown so large that it entwined itself in my veins and my arteries.
Wow. So it had metastasized.
It was growing, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so the doctor stopped, it was supposed to have been a 14-hour operation, but he stopped the operation, called my wife and sons in and said, well, he got this is a situation, and he's got a 60-40 chance of not surviving if we tried to cut, because they had to cut the veins and cut the arteries and then reattach them. So my wife said, no, don't do that. I want to keep him around for a little while longer. So they sewed me back up, and they left the tumor, and they took out my gallbladder, but they left the tumor. So it's still there. He's my little friend. He's my little buddy. He's still growing.
Wow. Okay. And they gave you in 2017. I think you got the diagnosis, and they gave you 2 years.
He said, you've got about 2 years left. And he said, well, if we're doing these experimental drugs, you take this drug, we might be able to extend your life expectancy, maybe 3 years. And okay, let's do it.
But you said something to me when I first called you. You said, I'm hard-headed.
Yeah, well, when he told me that, well, see, you have to understand, there's a history of cancer in my family. Mom had cancer. My older sister got cancer. My younger sister got cancer. And my mom had cancer twice. Wow. I'll never forget, she had it when I was 8 years old. She had to have a mastectomy. And then, it came back when she was 84 years old. Wow. And I'll never forget, I was at the hospital. I was at the doctor's with her, and the doctor told her, well, they were going to have to do another mastectomy. And so she just sat there. She didn't flinch. And when the doctor left the room, she just turned to me and says, because they had to remove her other breast. Right. And she turned to me and she said, hey, I don't need it anymore anyway.
So you got that attitude of, I'm not going to let, as I've said in my speeches over the years, Mrs. Doris DeBow, who I interviewed when I wrote my first book, who had beaten cancer 4 times. And she said, tell the people in your book that I might have cancer, but cancer does not have me.
Exactly.
And then she said one other quote. She said, now write this like I said. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, tell the people that doctors can give you the diagnosis, but God gives you the prognosis.
Yeah.
And so you are a walking, talking example of that. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with Maurice Butler. We're going to talk about his mindset to beat cancer, how he has done this almost 10 years, a decade. And then we're going to talk about his books. You've got to hear about these books. So this is a show that's going to maybe change lives and save lives. This is Dr. Willie Jolly on the Willie Jolly Wealthy Way Show. And for sure, the best is yet to come. We'll be right back.
Friendship is not about being convenient. It's about being committed and consistent. You can call on me when you need me.
I'm so excited about the response to my new book, Rich is Good, Wealthy is Better. So many have said that the book has had a profound impact on their thinking. I wrote the book to teach others what I have been taught over the last 20 years, interviewing billionaire after billionaire. And most of those billionaires started with nothing. I want to offer you some of the most powerful chapters in the book as a gift. Go to richisgood.wealthyisbetter.com to read the free chapters so you can get on with growing your wealth. Get the free chapters at richisgood.wealthyisbetter.com. Hey, this is Dr. Willie Jolly, and support for the Willie Jolly Wealthy Way Show and podcast comes from Truist Bank. When you work with someone who knows a lot and cares even more, you're unstoppable. When you become a homeowner, your future starts to feel different. That's power, knowing you could be creating generational wealth to pass down. Truist believes that a path to home ownership exists for you. I hear people say, well, I don't see how I could ever own a home. Truist has programs that could help you buy a home with a lower down payment than you might expect. And their professional guidance helps you build belief that home ownership is within reach. Connect with a Truist teammate to learn about options that are available to you. They will listen to your goals and follow through. Reach them by calling 855-562-1579. Do this for your family and your legacy. That number is 855-562-1579 or visit truist.com/homebuyer. That's truist.com/homebuyer. Certain programs and geographic restrictions may apply. Contact a loan officer for details. Truist Bank is an equal housing lender. And we're back. This is Dr. Willie Jolly on the Willie Jolly Wealthy Way Show and podcast around the globe. And I want you all to go to winwithwillie.com. Winwithwillie.com. Get some of the free resources that we have there to help you grow yourself. And I want everybody to go get my new book, Rich is Good, Wealthy is Better. A book that will help you, 1, grow your wealth, 2, grow your family so they can maintain what you work so hard to create and develop. Rich is Good, Wealthy is Better.com. My special guest today is somebody I've known just about all my life. And now he's a very popular author of multiple books. He also, though, is a cancer, not just a cancer survivor, but a cancer thriver. Dr. Maurice Butler, I'm glad to have you on today. Tell me more about your mindset.
Well, you know, when a doctor tells you that you've got cancer, it's like almost like a death sentence.
Right.
You know, and you go through the emotional feelings, the mental attitude, as well as the physical issues. But I remember there's one of my mantras is I looked at the movie Shawshank Redemption.
Yes.
And it said, you know, you get busy living or you get busy dying. You can and you can wallow in your sorrow, or you can just stay active and live life.
Right.
So I chose to stay active and live life. There are numbers of factors that made me make that decision, and it was, as far as I was concerned, it was a great decision. for one, once I realized that I had, after I recovered from the operation, I decided to try to be as active as possible and live as much life as I could. The interesting thing, I wasn't a great swimmer. I used to do water aerobics with my wife, and they had this older group of seniors down at the other end of the pool that was swimming. So, one of the guys asked me, would I be interested in swimming on this team? I said, I really don't swim that well. But after, when I was doing recovery, I would sit down and watch these seniors swim. And it was phenomenal because there was a guy who was 102.
Wow.
There was a lady who was like 90, 92. There was an 84-year-old. And all these older seniors. And even though I was in my 60s, I didn't consider myself old.
Right.
But I said to myself, well, they know something down there. So I'm going to join that team. So it was called the DC Water Wizards. And I joined that. I went down and talked to the coach, and I told him I had cancer. He said half the people in the pool got cancer. So, just come on out. And everybody had an issue. And what I found was that when you're standing on the starting blocks and the judge says, take your marks, and blows the horn, don't nobody care what you got.
Right.
Nobody care that you got this problem, you got that problem. They just want to see who's going to get to the other end fast.
Right.
And so everybody had their issues, but I learned that, okay, just, I'm not going to let that hinder me. Now, I wasn't a great swimmer by far. In fact, my very first competition, I was swimming the 1600 medley, individual medley. And it was just me and this lady who was like 84 years old. They had to help her up to get her on the starting blocks. She had a neck brace. She walked with a cane. And when I got up on the starting blocks, I said to myself, I'm going to kick this old lady's behind. And when the horn went off, this lady jumped in the pool, and that lady beat me so bad. By the time I finished the race, she was at the other end eating a sandwich. And, I said, hey, and she was 80-something years old. So I'm saying, there's a whole lot of life to live.
That's right.
Change my attitude about things. Stay active. As long as you stay active, you can keep this thing going. But more importantly, I have to give credit to my wife, who refused to allow me to feel sorry for myself. She would, hey, get your behind, excuse me. She would take me out. I had to walk twice, during recovery. I had to take a walk twice a day. And nope, get up, let's go. And she pushed me, and she didn't baby, coddle me or anything like that. And, walking from my house to the corner of Quincy Street was probably the most difficult thing I had to do. But within 4 or 5 months, I could walk all the way up to Carter Barron from Quincy Street.
Okay, and for those who don't know what Carter Barron is from Quincy Street, that would be a 2-mile walk one way, at least 2 miles, probably 2.5 miles.
Uphill,
all uphill. I live near Carter Barron, and so I know, and I grew up down near Quincy Street, so that's uphill, 2.5 miles, and yet that's what he did. Here's what I want people to hear: that one, for those who don't know, we have on the podcast a cancer survivors show that I did many years ago with two. One was pancreatic, and she had beat it, and the other was stage 4, by the way, pancreatic, and stage 4 throat cancer. They both beat it, and they were 10 years in, and they both talked about the impact family had when they would say, "You're going to live. We're not going to come and look sad and look depressed and say, oh, woe is me." They say, get up, get busy. That's one thing. Second is a mindset. I do not accept the prognosis. I do not accept that. And that's what you said earlier.
Well, it was interesting. When I was doing radiation and chemo, we had to do it every day. And there was a group of us. And when you would walk into the visitor's room, it was like a morgue. Nobody was saying anything to anybody. And my wife used to go with me every day. And she would walk in and, everybody was quiet and she would, hi, everybody. She would just, talk like, nobody had a problem. And next thing I knew, we was having a party in there. You know? And all of these people, the doctor called me in the office one day and he says he wanted to know why my reaction to the radiation was a lot better than everybody else's. And I told him, I said, Doc, all those people sitting in that waiting room are waiting to die. I got to get to practice. I don't have time for that.
Right.
So it's the mindset, is like, you stop when you get that cancer diagnosis, you stop planning everything. You think your life is about to be over. But, I just started doing more things. In fact, I did more things after the diagnosis than I did before the diagnosis.
Wow.
So part of it is a mindset.
It's a mindset. And that's why I wanted to have you on, to have people to hear your story. It aligns with the story of the people who I had in that Cancer Thrivers, Cancer Survivors show that's on the podcast. And the fact that they said when people came in our hospital room, we had told family, you make sure you're upbeat and you're positive and you're excited about the future. 2, they planned for the future. That's what you told me yesterday. I'm planning for the future. I got plays in production. I'm writing new books. I'm writing more. I'm enjoying life. I'm playing golf. I'm swimming. I'm going out with my wife on dates. And when I heard that enthusiasm, I said, people need to hear this so that they can know that cancer is not a death sentence. You can choose to win. And so that's what we want people to hear. Well, let's talk a little bit about these books, because you have written some books that have become very popular. One of the books there are 4 of them. One is called Out from the Shadows, the story of Charles L. Gittins, who broke the color barrier in the United States Secret Service. Tell us a little bit about that book, please.
When I was teaching at Roosevelt, I was teaching a journalism class. And my kids were doing a school newspaper, and I wanted them we were doing the Black History Month at the school newspaper, and I wanted them to research some people other than, Martin Luther King and, same old. So I had them interview people. We interviewed like Dorothy Gilliam, who was the first Black female writer for the Washington Post. One of my colleagues, her name was Sharon Gittins, Sharon Quick. Later, I found out she was Sharon Gittins Quick. Mr. Gittins was her father.
Wow.
Said, well, you could interview my father. And I'm going like, well, who's your father? And she said he was the first Black Secret Service agent in the United States. And I said, sure, bring him in. So the guy came in. He was like 82 at the time, immaculately dressed. He came in and he spoke to my kids for 90 minutes. And that man's story was so phenomenal. The lunch bell rang and not a kid moved.
Wow.
It was just inspired by the things that this man was saying. He joined the Secret Service in 1956 under Dwight D. Eisenhower. So, he told all of the stories. So at the end of the class, after everybody left, I said, well, your story needs to be told, because before he got there, I had my kids Google him, and
right.
Absolutely nothing written about him. He was one of those hidden figures.
Wow.
And so, I said, well, I'd like to hear a little bit more. He said, sure, young fella. He gave me his number and said, just give me a call. But he didn't do anything. He said he didn't do anything special. He was just doing his job. So I called this man for like 2 years. 2 years he ducked me. He didn't want to do a story. And then his daughter was getting ready to put him in. He was having the onset of dementia, and she was putting him in, a senior facility. And she said, "Do you still want the story?" And I said, "Sure." So I went by he was in the Collington, and I went by and I met with him for 6 weeks every Tuesday. And this man, even though he had dementia, he had short-term memory loss, but his long-term memory was like yesterday. It was like it happened yesterday. So for 6 weeks, I sat down and talked with this man, and then I flew up to flew up to Cambridge and I talked to his relatives. I found his.
Hold the thought. I want to hear the rest of the story. You got to hear the rest of this story, folks. We're going to be right back. This is Dr. Willie Jolly on the Willie Jolly Wealthy Way show and podcast. And for sure, the best is yet to come. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Dr. Willie Jolly, and I got an email from a gentleman in Australia who shared how he had been struggling in his business, and he bought some of my books and audios, and how it had a profound impact on his business, and he went from worst to first in his company. I shared with him how much I appreciated his note, but I told him those books, those audios, those videos were not just something that I just thought up one day and thought it to write. They were born out of my experiences, out of the challenges of overcoming the problems and the difficulties and how I was able to do it. And I shared with him that others have sent similar messages and that these resources work. I want to encourage you and invite you to go to my store. Go to wjspeaks.com/shop. wjspeaks.com/shop. Get some of the books. It only takes a minute to change your life. Or a setback is a setup for a comeback. Or turn setbacks into greenbacks. Or chicken soup for the soul. Or an attitude of excellence. Or the book I wrote with my wife after 34 years of being married and not having an argument in over 30 years. We wrote a book called Make Love, Make Money, Make It Last. And now it is saving marriages all over the globe. Go to the store. Get some of the audios, the videos, the books, the resources to help you have greater personal and professional success. This is Dr. Willie Jolly. Make this a great day on purpose. And we're back. This is Dr. Willie Jolly on the Willie Jolly Wealthy Way show and podcast. We got to get back into that story about Mr. Gittens, the first African-American Secret Service agent, and the incredible way that Dr. Butler was able to get this story for his book. But before we do, I want to thank our friends at Truist. Truist is an incredible partner. Truist is an incredible partner of mine and has been for many years. What makes our partnership so special? Well, it's because they serve me with knowledge, care, and understanding, and that makes the difference. They have a banking organization and the tools that I need, the financial know-how to help me with whatever I need, and they care about helping me hit my goals. And they do it not just for me, but for anybody who wants their information. Let me tell you, that combination of knowledge and care, it is incredible. Check out what I'm talking about at truist.com/unstoppable. Truist.com/unstoppable. Truist Bank, leaders in banking, unwavering in care. Well, my special guest is a friend. He's been a friend for many, many, many years. I've been always grateful for him because he rescued me when I was a kid from some bullies. But I am most inspired now that I'm an adult. And some years ago, one of his friends and my friends, my wife's bestie, her name is Gladys Pemberton. And Gladys Pemberton and Dr. Butler were teaching at the same school. And when he retired, they stayed in touch and she retired. And one day she called me and said, have you heard about Maurice Butler? I said, Butch? She said, yes, he has been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He's writing a journal on Facebook and he's telling about this journey and it's intriguing. He's a great writer. And the doctors have given him a limited prognosis, about 2 years. And you should know about it. I thought you knew him. I said, I know him very well. And so I reached out to him and we chatted. And, I just encouraged him as I encourage others who have been given a cancer diagnosis to not give up, to keep fighting. Well, I didn't need to tell this dude that. Okay. I didn't need to tell this dude that. This dude, I went to him to encourage him and he ended up encouraging me. And so he now is almost 10 years past that diagnosis and is writing books. He's doing plays and he's helping others. And that's why I wanted him to be on this broadcast to help those who might be listening, who might be struggling, whether it's cancer or some other diagnosis or some other issue that is your mindset that plays a big part in your success. His name is Dr. Maurice Butler. Dr. Butler, thank you again for being on with me. And I want you to finish that story about Mr. Gittens and how you were able to be persistent to get him to give you his story for your book about him.
Well, it wasn't hard because, for one, I taught history most of my time at Roosevelt, and now actually I was writing some history, because here's a story that needed to be told. For example, this guy, here was a black man in 1971 who was in charge of the Washington field office, of the Secret Service. This man rose to positions of leadership. And I never even heard of him. He was the one who advocated for females to get into the Secret Service.
Wow.
In fact, because he was in charge of the field office, they said, well, if you want women to come in, they put them all under his tutelage. Guess what they became known as? Charlie's Angels, because his name Charles, everybody called him Charlie.
Wow.
So I tried to draw the line. I said, well, is this the real Charlie's Angels? Because you never saw Charlie in the TV stuff.
Right, that's right.
But so I just kept saying, well, Charlie was the real Charles Angels. But anyway, this guy was phenomenal, and he did so many things, and this story had to be told. And so I wrote the book because the story needed to be told, and nobody was telling it. And
the book is called Out from the Shadow.
Oh, right. And it was interesting. I was able to get into that world. This was my first, really second. When I did my dissertation, that was like a book. But this was my first real book, and to do real research, I had to actually travel. I traveled up to Cambridge. I traveled down to Oxford, North Carolina, to talk to his wife's relatives and wife's friends. I got into this world of the Secret Service, which was intriguing to me. Mm-hmm. There's a whole lot of things that I found out that I didn't put in the book.
Wow.
Because, when you do a biography, you have to verify anything.
Right.
Everything. And it was interesting. I talked with Clint Hill.
Yes.
Secret Service agent that jumped on the car to save Mrs. Kennedy when President Kennedy got shot. And he coined the phrase. He says, we live in the shadows. Everything that we know, if the public knew about it, they would be shocked.
Wow. And
so majority of the things that the Secret Service do, the public never, ever hears about it. And that's the way they want it. And he was saying that if they did hear about it, that's because we didn't do our jobs. So I was able to get into that world, and my wife told me, she said, now, the phone's going to get tapped because this guy was telling me some stuff. Like I said, I didn't put it in the book, but I did put it in the play.
Wow. And the play is coming up this year.
Yeah. And so some of the things, like I say, I could have some leeway with the play.
Yes.
Because it's a theatrical production.
Right. Again, folks, for those who might have joined later, Dr. Maurice Butler is a author, but his writing, much of it is done since he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And he refused to let the diagnosis stop him from living his dream. And as a result of that, he has written books. He's writing a play, and the play will be produced later this year. And he's saying, I'm hoping to do the play. I'm doing a play. He told me that when he told me, they said, I got a play coming out at the end of the year. And I said, wow, what a mindset. Okay.
Let me just say this. The producer of the play is a fabulous young lady named Shannon Wren.
Okay.
And she saw my script, and she fell in love with it. And so she's the one who's the executive producer of the play. I just wanted to shout out that.
Oh, no, we got to shout her out. We have to shout her out. I am so excited. And do you have a website, Dr. Butler, or people just go to Amazon to get your books?
Yeah, they can go to Amazon.
We're going to encourage you to post this interview on your website. Okay. So people who are dealing with diagnoses and illnesses can say, I heard it. You got to hear this guy. Okay. There's another book that you have written that is about a love story. DC, there's a street called K Street, and K Street has a bridge. And there's a book he has about two homeless people who fell in love under the K Street Bridge. Tell us about that.
Well, one of the things that I really loved about writing was that I was able to get into worlds that I knew nothing about. For example, The Blue Dilemma was about police officers and the problems they have with, loving their community, being in a community, but the community not loving them back. Mm-hmm. I invited like 10 officers over to my house, and we just sat down and talked about what it's like to be police and the dilemmas they go through. The K Street Bridge, I didn't know that much about homelessness. You have a tendency to see people who are homeless, but you really don't want to see them because it's a situation where, you want to just...
I want to stop for a moment. That Blue Dilemma is the name of the book with the police officer, correct?
Right.
Okay, because I want people to know there's a book called The Blue Dilemma, right. and being part of a society or community, and people don't always give you the same kind of love back. So The Blue Dilemma is another book. Okay, go here about the K Street.
And so I wanted to get into that world, and this is what writing allows you to do, is to get into these worlds. So I was able to find some people who were homeless. And, I went down on K Street. In fact, I was down on K Street when, the government came in and cleaned out all of those tents and stuff like that. But what I found was a very, very intriguing story because, like I say, society wants to wipe people away. They're nameless, they're faceless. But I wanted to let people know that, homelessness is like 2 paychecks away or one medical situation. It could happen to almost anybody. So what I did is I took a different approach. I took two characters who were very, very successful in society. One was a popular band director who had gone all over the country and everybody loved him. One was a female who was an international businesswoman. And they had reached the height of their profession. Things happened to them, and both of them became homeless. And it just so happens that they found each other on the street. And, believe it or not, they knew each other when they were young.
Wow.
Then they went their separate ways, and then they found each other on the street and fell in love. And that everybody loves a love story.
No question. Everybody, I know I love a love story. That's exactly right.
So it was my way of, getting people to, nobody, a lot of times people don't want to read about homelessness because there's nothing you can do about it as far as they're concerned. You want to, those people become invisible. It's a situation that, I don't know, everybody can see it, but they don't want to see it.
Right.
So by you loving these characters, and falling in love with the characters. And I wrote it so that you would fall in love with the characters. And then the characters would fall in love with each other and, in essence, help themselves. They go through the trials and tribulations of trying to live and survive on the street. Then they're able to get off the street. And the beauty of the book is that it provides some solution to the situation.
Wow.
And I'm very, very proud of it.
And what's the name of the book?
It's called Love Under the K Street Bridge.
Love Under the K Street Bridge.
There was a tent community under the K Street Bridge, and there was a tent community under the L Street Bridge. I used to go by that when I would go to Kaiser, and I was practically living in Kaiser with this whole cancer, chemo infusion. But I would see these people every day. And, I would observe, I look at it, I look at everything, and I would
Right.
behavior and stuff like that. So I decided to write that book.
I love this. We're going to take another break, and we're going to come back with more with Dr. Maurice Butler. What a story and what a mindset. You're going to enjoy the rest of this interview as well. Stay tuned. And for sure, the best is still yet to come. We'll be right back.
Motivated, highly motivated, motivated, gonna take you to the top. Motivated, highly motivated, motivated, I'm never gonna stop. I had a job I really hated. It made me sick, but it got me motivated. I knew that this was not where I was meant to be. I didn't want to stay, but I was too afraid to leave. Then one day I got my check, there was almost nothing there. I went to the boss, he laughed and said he didn't care. My kids were at home hungry, I was about to lose my home. That's when I decided I had to make it on my own. Said I, gonna take it to the top. I said I'm never gonna stop. My friends said I was crazy when I told them all goodbye. But the only one who's crazy is the one who's afraid to try. They said I'd never make it, said I would not survive. But I knew I had to make it, it was either do or die. So I grabbed hold of my dream and I put it in my heart. I stepped out on my faith and learned to really trust in God.
Hey, this is Dr. Willie Jolly, here to thank Truist Bank for their sponsorship of the Willie Jolly Wealthy Ways show and podcast. Now, if you're a longtime Wealthy Ways listener, you know I believe that mindset is the key to success, and so does Truist. That's why they've created their incredible resource, Money and Mindset. It's full of tips to help you with your finances and help you with your well-being. You can get articles, quizzes, calculators, and hey, even more podcast information that will bless you, all for free and for anyone to use. Check it out today at truist.com/money and mindset. Truist.com/money and mindset. Truist, leaders in banking, unwavering in care, and Truist Bank is a member FDIC, leading based on top 10 U.S. commercial bank. And we're back. This is Dr. Willie Jolly on the Willie Jolly Wealthy Ways show and podcast with my special guest, Dr. Maurice Butler. He is a author of numerous books that are profound, well-regarded, very popular, but he also is a lifelong friend of mine who I'm so impressed with and inspired by because of his willingness to share his story about not letting cancer, a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer, stop him. Maurice Butler, how do people reach you?
Well, one, my email address, let me give you my email address, is mbutler789@aol.com.
Say that one more time, please.
mbutler789@aol.com.
Okay, and where can you follow you on Facebook?
Yeah, they can follow me on Facebook at Maurice A. Butler.
Maurice A. Butler.
Because there's a lot of Maurice Butlers out there.
So the website is mauriceabutler.com. mauriceabutler.com. Tell all the books so everybody will know the different books, please.
Okay. First one is Out from the Shadow. Second one is Demons in the Closet.
What's that about?
That's about three females who went through abuse in their young lives, physical abuse, sexual abuse, homelessness, and they become successful women in society.
Wow.
They meet each other through, they were all members of a sorority. different sororities, but they meet each other in Washington, D.C. at a sorority convention. And they sat down and they developed a friendship and they talked about their individual stories and how they overcame their stories. So the vehicle that I use to tell that story is sorority life. The characters were based on real people.
Wow, wow, wow. Third one was The Blue Dilemma.
Dilemma. That was about the police.
And then the fourth one?
Fourth one is Love Under the K Street Bridge.
Wow. How many of these books were written after you got diagnosed with cancer?
I got diagnosed in the when I was doing The Blue Dilemma.
Wow.
I'm working on my fifth book.
See, that's what I wanted to get to. Folks, did you notice when I talked to him originally and said I wanted to interview him, he went through all this litany of stuff that he's doing. He's playing golf, he's swimming, he's writing books, and he got this play that he's doing, he's writing, and I'm working on a new book. And oh, by the way, and I'm fighting cancer. And it was just an aside. And that was a mindset. I was so stunned because the people who I know who have beaten cancer have had that same mindset that cancer, I might have cancer, but cancer does not have me. I refuse to accept this and give up living. What was that quote from Shawshank again?
It's get busy living or get busy dying.
Wow. That's what you have done. And now you're writing a new book. What a great inspiration to people. I hope y'all will reach out to him if you've got information that you want to share. You want to have him maybe even speak or have him talk about some things with people in your network. Most people who are followers of this show know at the end of every show, I ask my guests, if you were going to be in town and we went to Howard University or American or GW or one of the great universities and went to a class of young wannabe success stories. Tell them a couple you got us. And each guest will tell them a couple you got us. But with you, I want to ask two situations. One, if you went to a college and you were going to tell these young people how to be successful, what would you tell them? But then I want you to think also, number two, people who have been diagnosed with an illness. Here's some things you got to do.
One, I'd say stay positive.
Yes.
That's critical. Your mindset really controls a lot that happens to your body. I would say stay active. Because when you have, what happens when you have cancer is since you think you're going to die, you don't plan for anything. Or by staying active and keeping a schedule of things that you want to do, you might not make it there, but at least when you plan for it, you have something to look forward to. Some people, they just sit around and they look forward to dying. I mean, they want the pain to stop. They want, the emotional pain to stop. So they just lay around and accept death. But, by me staying active, then I have something to look forward to. And so if death comes, I'm not afraid of it anymore.
Yes.
I did it for so long. I don't fear it.
Right. And I think what you said to me when I first said, I'm hard-headed. The doctor said, I'm just hard-headed. I just chose not to. And I think now part of your being hard-headed is your mama.
And my older sister, she has a saying. She says, keep it moving. And she goes through a lot of physical issues. But that girl, she's 84 years old, and it's hard for me to keep up with her. She travels so much.
And she's had cancer.
Yeah.
Okay. So folks, this is a family structure that came from their mama. Their mama taught them, don't buy into it. Don't give up to it. And I love this energy and this mindset. Stay positive, make plans, keep busy, exercise.
Oh, definitely. That's critical. That is critical. You have to keep your body moving because your body will break down. On Sundays, I golf with a group called the Bison Impact Group. They're of Howard University and HBCU graduates. And, a younger group, the Water Wizards is an older group. An Impact Group is a younger group. So I'm with these vibrant people, who have futures ahead of themselves. And that helps me hanging out with the younger folks as well as hanging out with the seniors. And I think what it is community. Both those organizations are community.
Right.
it's important to be around people because, if you're by yourself all the time, there are times I have to admit where, I'm like, this is tough, because you're in pain. It's not something you want, but it is what it is.
And you decided to win in spite of the challenges. Boom. I decide it's a decision. And folks, that's what I want you to get. Okay. Now you're going to talk to some students at Howard University. What would you tell them to be to succeed?
Never be afraid to try new things. Step out on faith sometime, but try. You might not be comfortable with it. We should be lifelong learners.
Yes.
While we're learning new things, we're growing.
Yes.
And when you grow, you feel a whole lot better, especially when you try new things and you begin to master new things. And then the next thing you know, you're going to try something else new. So like swimming for me was something I just tried. Like I said, I wasn't good at it, but, I was able to do it. So, try new things. For this play, this is new to me. It's brand new, and I'm learning. We had a cast calls and table reads, and, I'm into a world that I knew absolutely nothing about. And the interesting thing about it was after the book, Out from the Shadow, about the Secret Service agents, some people in Hollywood wanted to produce it.
Wow.
Make it a Netflix series. And I'd worked for 3 years in Hollywood, and that was an experience in itself. Unfortunately, we had got it to the point where they accepted the project. They were, we were looking for funding to fund the project. Then our current president got elected, and everything went south.
Well, with this interview, maybe you'll get some more calls from people say, I think we want to be a part of that process, because this is a phenomenal story. You are a phenomenal story. You are a phenomenal story. Closing thoughts, Maurice Butler, Dr. Maurice Butler.
For those of you who have cancer, it's not always a death sentence, number one.
Amen.
You got a choice you have to make. Either get busy living or get busy dying. And I think if you choose to decide, okay, I'm going to live, we're all going to die sometime.
Right.
And, my thing is, okay, when it happens, it happens. And even if it does happen, I'll find a way to come back.
I love it. Dr. Maurice Butler, I want to thank you for being my guest. So the website is mauriceabutler.com. mauriceabutler.com. I want to thank all of you who have listened and continue to tell your friends to listen. I want to thank Truist Bank for being my partner. When you start with care, you really do build a different kind of bank. And then I want to encourage everybody to get my new book, Rich is Good, Wealthy is Better. Rich is Good, Wealthy is Better. It's a book that will help you, one, grow your wealth, and two, teach your family how to maintain it and sustain it so that it's not squandered. Well, I want to thank everybody for your time. I want to thank everybody for your support. And remember, your best is still yet to come. This is Dr. Willie Jolly. Have a great day and a great week on purpose. God bless you.
way your boat's gonna go. If the wind is blowing from the south, but the northwest is your chosen route, and you've got to use the flow to make it go where you want it to go. The race in life does not go to the swift or the strong, but to the one who simply just keeps moving along. The one who claims the winner's cup, even when the race gets rough, is the one who keeps trying and trying and never gives up. Up to you. It's up to you. Win or lose. Whether you win or lose. Life is too short for you to give anything but the best you can. If the saying goes for you to win, you got to try and try again.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode, and I hope you got something of great value. And I hope that you were inspired, you were motivated, you were empowered, and you were encouraged to live your best life. I hope this information and this inspiration will help you to do more, be more, and to achieve more. That's the goal why I started this program, and I hope it helped you in a mighty way. Now, I ask you to make sure and that you take full advantage of all the resources that came through this program. I hope you go to wjspeaks.com/gift and get some of the free resources that we have there for you. I hope you go to wjspeaks.com/shop to get some of the books that we have created, that we've labored over to make sure that they will deliver a powerful message to you. I hope you go to williejolly.com/billionaire, williejolly.com/billionaire, or wjspeaks.com/billionaire to get the box that it will inspire your whole family, or get the bag of books. Make this a great day, a great week, a great month. And remember, it is true that you are blessed and all things are possible for them that believe. So make the most of the belief that you have now in your future. This is Dr. Willie Jolly. Have a great day.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.